started with this video, this is Editing Emma after all of the events which you're about to see, just checking in to explain what this vlog is going to be. So this is, unlike all of my previous ones which have been a week or 2 weeks at most, this is actually a vlog for the entire month of January because I've had such a terrible reading month that I've had hardly anything to vlog every week and consequently have just made all of the footage into one video. I didn't want to not put any videos out at all this month. I know I've been definitely MIA for most of January, which I'm very sorry I haven't been able to put out any content for you, but I've just not been having the greatest month. Both in terms of reading, I've been in a massive reading slump and have hardly read anything this month compared to my usual reading pace, but also have just had basically been burnt out. I've had a really busy month with work, doing lots of extra shifts, extra responsibility. It's just not the best time. For context, I work in the NHS. I'll say no more, but it's just, yeah, been a crazy month. I've not been able to do anywhere near as much reading as normal and haven't been vlogging very much either, but I didn't want to waste the footage that I had got, and I did want to show you the few books that I did get to read in January because they've all been very good and very enjoyable. So I will roll the footage that I have compiled from the month of January, and then you will see me looking like this again at the end of the video, just to give you a kind of a general wrap up and my thoughts about reading going forwards into February. So without further ado, this was January. Hello and welcome to this week's reading vlog, the first reading vlog of the new year. It is a very exciting time. We are starting the year afresh with lots of new reads, lots of new exciting things to come in the new year, and I am on my final day off before I go back to work after the Christmas and New Year breaks. So I am making the most of the day and heading out for a walk shortly to get some fresh air. It's not the most amazing day out there. It's very cold. Sorry, you can hear the traffic behind me. It's very cold out there and looks a bit windy too, but I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to actually see some daylight. So haven't decided yet where we are going, but I will go for some sort of walking adventure today. I might well pick up an audiobook while I am out, just to get a little bit of reading done while I'm out and about, but we will see. And I will hopefully check in with you again a little bit later on this evening. I am also going to tennis afterwards, so it will be a day of being outdoors, but hopefully with a little bit of reading started as well to kick the year off. Hello, so I'm just about to go and play tennis. I've had a day basically of being outside in the cold, being very windswept. Today I went to Malvern Hills and had a lovely walk earlier on. Managed to avoid the rain showers as well, which was very good, but it was the windiest weather in the world. We've now come back home. It's a little bit less windy here, but absolutely freezing. So I look forward to actually being finished with the game and going home and having a lovely relaxing bath and doing some reading this evening. But just thought I would actually show you my tennis club for a change, as I'm the first one here. You can see all the courts behind there, and actually it's a lovely rural setting in the background. You can't see too much of it from here, and it's a bit dark to go wandering around. It's getting dark now, but it is a very nice setting, and in the summer it's absolutely beautiful, but this time of year really rather cold. I wish we had indoor courts, but there we go. So I'll check in with you later once I'm home and give you a bit of a reading update for today. Hello, it is Saturday morning and I thought it was high time that I updated this vlog. I had set myself the lovely open challenge of mood reading as much as I wanted to in January, and it would appear that I've been in the mood to not read this week because I have barely touched a book since Monday, when I did have the day off and did do a little bit of reading of one of my new books for the year. But apart from that, I have barely read a page, so I thought I would rectify that this morning. I have no plans at all this morning apart from to get a few errands done around the house, so I'm starting the day off as I mean to go on. I have got some cinnamon rolls in the oven. They're just pre-cooked ones that you just heat up, which I'm very much looking forward to having for breakfast. And I'm going to make myself a coffee in a minute, and I might even add a little splash of the leftover Christmas Baileys, who knows, and just have a lovely relaxed morning, carrying on with a book that I started on Monday and I'm thoroughly enjoying so far. I will show you that shortly. I have also read a little bit throughout the week of a middle grade book which I picked up just as an ebook on Scribd. I always like to have a book ongoing that I can read a chapter or so of every day on my lunch break at work, and not make it obvious that I'm reading basically, so I can just read this on my phone. I decided to start Green Glass House by Kate Milford. I'd heard very good things about this and I knew that it was sort of a wintry, it's actually around Christmas but it doesn't feel overtly Christmassy, so you can read it in any time of year. But I wanted to read something wintry, so I thought that was a good one to pick up. I'm about a third of the way through now, and I'm really enjoying it. It's the sort of book I think I would have preferred to read as a child than now, but I'm thinking of it as I would have done in my head as a child, if that makes sense. I'm reading it through my childhood eyes, and I'm really liking it so far. It's a good, fun sort of adventure story with a lot of make-believe, and you really capture the whimsy of childhood in the two main characters that we have, Milo and Medi. So I'm intrigued to see where the story goes, and I'm loving reliving my childhood thrill of adventure. So that's one I'll just chip away at over the next week or so, and probably just give you my thoughts once I finish that one now. But it's been a good start to the year with that one. But as I said, hardly any other reading has been done. I've been doing other things with my evenings. So I will hopefully get a good chunk of some books read this weekend and get back on track and feel like I'm being productive at the start of January. So let me go and get my cinnamon roll out of the oven, and I will check in again with you shortly. Hello again. So it's a little bit later on Saturday now, and I've had to stop reading as I had other things to do around the house and actually need to get ready in a moment, which I'll tell you about shortly. But I've made some good progress with The Untold Story by Genevieve Cogman. I now have about 150 pages left, I think, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the story. I have no idea how this book is going to end still, which I'm both nervous and intrigued about. But I always love these stories. They're great fun, so I look forward to reading a bit more of this, hopefully tomorrow, to finish it off. But as I said, I've had a few things to do, and I'm now actually about to get ready to go out and meet my friends this evening. So 2 of my old college friends and I try and meet up every couple of months, and we couldn't fit anything in just before Christmas because everybody was busy with other things, so we decided to meet up this weekend instead. So we're just off to a bar in the city for a couple of drinks and a catch-up. Should be very fun, although I'm really out of practice at this kind of thing. I don't go anywhere in taxis or go among crowds of people too much anymore, as I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat, so it feels a bit strange, but it will be fine. We've booked a table, so we'll be away from a lot of other people, and I am staying over at my friend's house as well, so I won't need to be in a taxi for more than a couple of minutes, which is good. And we've all done tests and things beforehand too. We're trying to be sensible. But I think we should have a fun evening, and it's a place I've not been to before and have heard good things about, so fingers crossed. Does mean I won't get any reading done this evening, although I might manage a couple of pages before bed when I'm at my friend's house. We'll see. Depends how late we get back. So I'm just about to pick out my outfit for the evening and get myself looking a little bit more presentable, and then I shall be heading out. So I will probably catch up with you again tomorrow. I may get a couple of shots from this evening, probably won't really be filming anything though, it'll be very noisy I imagine, and probably quite busy too. But I will catch up with you again tomorrow and let you know what I'm up to and what else I'm reading. Hello, it is now Sunday morning. I am just off to play tennis. It's actually a beautiful sunny day today, which is very much not what we've been having recently in terms of weather. It doesn't feel like January at all, although it is very cold. So I'm hoping it will be an enjoyable morning. And then I plan to go home and do a bit more reading this afternoon. I'm making good progress with the several books that I'm in the middle of, but I think I would like to finish off The Untold Story today by Genevieve Cogman. I only have about a third of this left, so about 100 pages. So definitely can get this one done very soon, I hope. I'm really enjoying this. It's such a lovely series. I think this one is, it's the 8th in the series, and I think is going to be kind of the end for now, with the potential that she might pick up the series again at another point, but I think this one is going to wrap us up nicely with a kind of temporary conclusion. So I'm slightly nervous as to how this book's going to end because I love these characters and it's a series I've been very much enjoying reading for the past few years, so I'll be very sad to have reached an end, although it is nice and satisfying to have completed a series so early on in the year. So that's the plan for today. I will let you know my thoughts a bit later on if I do end up finishing this book, but I am very much loving it so far. It's everything that these books have been throughout the series. It's a comfort read, really, for me. It's kind of a lighter fantasy with a lot of familiar plot points and things in there. So a nice read to be getting through, and I will, as I say, update you on my final thoughts once I finish this one later on. So without further ado, let me go off and play my tennis match, and I will see you again a bit later. Hello. It is actually light enough for once when I've finished work for me to film while I'm sat in my car before I drive home. This was always my favourite vlogging spot in the summer. I used to like that kind of after work check-in before I set my goals for the evening reading. But of course, being winter, I've been unable to film in this position for quite some time. So it's very nice to think that the evenings are actually getting lighter and I can film in daylight again. I can leave work in daylight. I'm not completely nocturnal, which is a lovely thing. It's the most beautiful evening as well. It's been just perfect winter weather today. It's just coming into a sunset now, which I may well try and film for you, but it's been crisp and cold but sunny today, and very sad that I had to spend it all indoors, but I'm glad that the weather is like this and not just perpetual rain, which is so depressing. But moving on from the weather forecast, I wanted to let you know how I'm getting on with reading this week, and the answer is quite terrible. I'm feeling so slumpy at the moment. I think I always have a bit of a lull in January. I had the same problem last year in that I only read 7 books in January compared to the kind of 10 to 15 that I did in the rest of the months of the year. I think it's just the new start to the year. I've had a mad rush to finish all of the books I wanted to at the end of December for the end of the year. And I'm not really in the swing of things yet for new series or goal setting. I deliberately gave myself just the challenge to mood read in January because I did expect this to happen. I haven't set a TBR. But there are lots of books that I want to read, and I do obviously want to keep on track with reading productivity and with my Goodreads goal. So I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know what I'm going to get done in this week, but I just wanted to check in and let you know that sometimes it doesn't all go to plan, and reading slumps can definitely be a problem. I have been making a bit more progress with Green Glass House, the middle grade book that I'm reading as an ebook on Scribd on my lunch breaks at work. I'm getting through a few pages a day of that, dragging it out, but I always do. The book that I always pick as my lunchtime read has to be something that I don't need to get too embroiled in the story and read lots of it back to back. I can just dip in and out as I want to, and this is proving to be a good one for that, although I do now only have about, I think, 20% left, and I do really want to get to the end, so I think I might try and finish that one this evening when I get home, and I'll have ticked off another book for the year which will make me feel a lot more productive. I'm really enjoying it. It's such good fun. It's the sort of thing I'd have absolutely loved as a child. I say this often about middle grades, but I am particularly liking it at the moment too, so fingers crossed it delivers towards the end and it is a captivating conclusion. It's just lots of fun basically at the moment, but I hope that it is satisfying and not just an average story, but who knows. I have also started a very small amount of Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. So after reading The Ice Dragon the other day and just realising how much I've missed Westeros and the Game of Thrones universe, I decided to pick this one up. So this is a kind of history book, if you like, of the Targaryens, which was one of the major families in the world of the Song of Ice and Fire stories. So it's set out like one of the maesters is recounting the histories of this family, so it's lots of different storytelling basically and beautiful illustrations in the edition that I've got. But I have actually started it on audiobook. I wanted something I could just listen to while I was doing some errands last night around the house, and thought this would be an appropriate one if there was an audiobook, and indeed there was, so I've started it. I'm only about an hour in and it's about a 28-hour audiobook, so it's going to definitely take me some time, and I would like to read a lot of it physically too because of the beautiful illustrations, but it was lovely just to get back into that world and to just feel, I don't know, it feels some sort of nostalgic. It feels like something I've always had in my life and I've really missed it, so I'm very, very glad to be back, and I look forward to updating you more on my thoughts of the history of the Targaryens. It's very exciting stuff so far. In case you didn't know, the Targaryen family is the family associated with dragons in this world too, and everybody's a fan of dragons, aren't they? So it's going to be great fun. I can feel it coming. So that's enough rambling for now. Let's get home and let me try and finish off Green Glass House this evening and let you know my final thoughts later on. Hello, it is Wednesday evening and I just wanted to update this vlog to let you know I have finished another book. I am finally feeling like I'm making some progress with this month. So I have finished reading Green Glass House by Kate Milford, one of the middle grades which I have been reading this month so far. I've been reading this one just a little bit at a time on my lunch breaks via an ebook unscribed on my phone, and have finally finished it today. So I just wanted to let you know my thoughts about that one. So this book follows I think 10 or 11-year-old boy called Milo who lives in a smuggler's inn run by his parents, and he is home for Christmas holidays in which they normally don't have any guests staying with them at all. However, one snowy day, a few days before Christmas, lots of mysterious guests start to arrive, all of whom seem to have some kind of secret, and it's just basically a mystery story of Milo figuring out what's going on with all these guests, what the story of the house is, and a little bit of the story of his parentage and his background as well, because Milo is adopted. It's a really fun time, this book. I loved the adventure side of it, Milo and another little girl, Medi, who is in the house as well. It's just the perfect kind of story for children to read at Christmas, but basically for anyone to read. I loved it. I thought it was great fun. Not one of the most groundbreaking books I've ever read. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. However, the plot was just great fun, as I said. I definitely want to read the sequels, and I know had I read this as a child, as the target audience, I would have just devoured this and wanted to replicate all of the adventures in this creepy old house that they live in, finding artifacts, role-play games, you know, it's just everything that a child wants to read. So I was very impressed with this book. I was hoping for just a cosy, wintry mystery type story, which it definitely delivered on. So I'm glad I finally got through this one, and as I said, we'll definitely be picking up the sequels. Hello. It is Wednesday morning. I'm on a rare day off from work, and it's actually really dark considering it's only 10:30. It's just started to rain outside and it's gone very, very dark, so do forgive the lighting being a little bit questionable. But I just wanted to let you know my reading plans for the day. A smaller book, which I know I always get through quickly, and that is the next book in the Last Kingdom series by Bernard Cornwell. This, I think, is now maybe the 10th book in the series. I'm making good progress with it. So this is The Flame Bearer, and you've heard me talk about this series quite a lot before, but this follows our main character called Uhtred, who is living in England, which is not yet England, in about the 900s AD, and he is half a Saxon and half a Dane, so he's kind of transcending these two warring societies. There's a lot of political plots in there, and Uhtred is always at the thick of all of the wars and the political battles and everything that's going on in that country. He's a very witty main character who I really, really love reading about. And considering they're quite gory in places, they're quite intense in the way that the story is told, I find them a really fun read and really entertaining. So I think this is the perfect book for me to pick up today. It's only about 300 pages, as they usually are, so I might actually be able to get through the whole thing today, but if not, then I will probably finish it tomorrow evening after work. So that is the plan for today. Then if it actually stops raining, I'm at tennis this afternoon and then going out for a late lunch with a friend as well, so I won't get huge amounts of reading done in one sitting, but hopefully this evening can make some more progress with the book. And of course I'm going to start it now, so I'm going to go and make a coffee and get going with some reading. again. So, as at the start of the video, I am back and just wanted to wrap up the content that you've seen and give you a little bit of a summary of my thoughts for the few books that I did manage to read in January. As I said at the start of the video, I'm sorry that it's been such a chaotic month and that I've got very little read, but I didn't want to miss out on talking about the books which I did read and the adventures that I've been on, which you will have seen. So it is now the 30th of January, just the one day left of the month. As you saw just before in the footage, I had a lovely day out yesterday in the Peak District, going on a beautiful walk or in lots of wild countryside, and I had a thoroughly lovely day. I did also start, while I was on the journey to and from there, the audiobook of The Hatmakers by Tamsin Merchant. This is the first in a middle grade series, which I was planning to read for the middle grade monthly book for January, but I doubt I'm going to be able to take part in that and watch their live show on time because it's actually tomorrow and I'm about a third of the way into this book and have no chance to read tomorrow. So that probably isn't going to happen, but nevertheless, it's yet another book that I've started, which I did just want to mention, and I fully intend on finishing this one off probably next week. So to summarise the books that I did read this month, first of all, I read The Ice Dragon by George R.R. Martin way back at the very start of the year. I don't think I even talked about this one while I was reading it, probably because it was so short, but I have referenced it throughout this footage, I believe. So The Ice Dragon is a standalone children's story which may or may not be set in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. It's not been confirmed or denied. It has got very much the same feel as George R.R. Martin's other books in this world, though there are no specific places or people referenced in this story. But I think that this was written before the rest of his Game of Thrones series, and you definitely get the feeling that he was exploring what he wanted the world to be like and some of the themes with the dragons and the icy magic of the far north and things like that. So it definitely fits into that world, if not explicitly stated. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a beautiful little short story. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I do fully intend to pick up a copy because the illustrations are lovely. I read this one as an ebook through my library actually, which obviously was able to show me all of those beautiful illustrations, and I really, really liked this story. It follows a young girl who lives in a very isolated rural setting on this farm with her family, and she has always felt like an outcast compared to the rest of her siblings and the rest of her family in general. She loves the cold, she loves the winter, she is a winter child, which again very neatly references into the Game of Thrones world. And she has this great connection to the creatures of the winter, and in particular the Ice Dragon, which visits her and which she ends up riding, and which is part of this wonderful heroic story to save the rest of her community from other dragons. I don't want to spoil the rest of the story, but it was a beautiful short story. I think it was only about 100 pages long, most of which were illustrations, so it was definitely a quick read and a lovely start to the year, if only things could have progressed so smoothly from then on. But definitely one which I'm glad I read. I read this one because I had seen Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction read it over, I think, one of her Christmas vlogs, and I hadn't heard of it before and was just intrigued to pick up something else from a very favourite author of mine. I next completed Green Glass House by Kate Milford. This one is another middle grade, the first in a series which follows a boy called Milo who lives in a smuggler's inn run by his parents, and this particular first book is the story of him on his Christmas holidays, expecting to have a lovely quiet time to celebrate the season, but instead is overrun with mysterious visitors to this inn, all of whom seem to have some kind of nefarious backstory. There is a great mystery of, are people who they say they are, what is going on with some missing artefacts, and it's just a great mystery story. I thoroughly enjoyed this one too. As I said when I was wrapping this one up, it wasn't the most excitingly written book in the world, but the plot was just really good fun. Something I definitely would have enjoyed more as a child, but I'm very glad I've read, and I do plan to continue on with this series very, very soon. And in fact, I did, because I picked up the second book in the series last week. Again, I haven't talked about this one either. I literally gave up with vlogging towards the end of the month, but I've also almost finished, and this is the one I do think I will finish by the end of the month. The Ghosts of Green Glass House, also by Kate Milford, being the second book in the series, again following our same characters, some recurring characters of the visitors from the previous book, but some new ones as well. We have a new extension to the mystery, and we also have ghosts, as you can tell from the title. It is set the year later, again in the Christmas holidays, so again you have that lovely wintry cosy setting of the inn in the middle of snowy scenery. and it's again just a fun story. I'm really enjoying this one. Both of these I've read on my phone as ebooks via Scribd. I like to have something on the go while I'm at work, so these have been the ones that I have chipped away at gradually throughout the month, and as I say, I'm nearly finished with The Ghosts of Green Glass House, so we'll hopefully get this one finished on the 31st, Monday being tomorrow, and that will be another book finished for the month. The next book that I read, I'm not sure if I'm doing these in order, but the next one that I know I have actually completed was The Untold Story by Genevieve Cogman, which I think was the 8th book in the Invisible Library series. This is a fantasy series which I've been reading for a number of years and always thoroughly enjoy. They're very good go-to books that I know I'm going to love and can get through, usually pretty quickly, though that was not the case with this one. I was very on and off. But when I was reading it, it was a high, fast-paced, really engaging story. We had a lot of conclusions to storylines that we've had throughout the previous books. I really felt a sense of teamwork and camaraderie between our main recurrent characters, being Irene, who is a librarian spy, very exciting stuff, Kai, who is a dragon, and Vale, who is a kind of version of Sherlock Holmes, really. He's a Victorian detective. So this series I have talked about before, but it is set in lots of different parallel universes, so you have different versions of our world, which the librarians, including Irene, can traverse via their library, which is this kind of otherworldly dimension which collects books and versions of stories from all of these different parallel worlds. And the spy element comes into it in that the librarians are tasked with visiting these different worlds, collecting these rare books, and being involved in all sorts of political plots between the people of those worlds and the dragons and also the Fae. So we have lots of different fun fantasy elements to this story. We also have the ongoing theme of Irene discovering her true parentage because she was adopted by a pair of librarians in her past, and we know that there's some kind of secret about who Irene's parents actually are, which is resolved in this book, and we do have some closure in terms of the main villain story as part of this series too. I'd say it's very difficult to summarise all of this because we are on book 8. That, I believe, is the end of the series for now, but there is definitely the scope for this to be continued again in the future, and I would love it to be because I do love these stories. This one was a high 4-star for me. They're never quite there with a 5-star. They're really enjoyable books, but just missing that tiny edge that would make them 5-star for me. But a thoroughly enjoyable series, as I've said, and one which I'm very glad to have got up to date with. I am talking a lot. I can tell I'm out of practice with vlogging. I'm getting very hoarse with all this talking. So there were a couple of other books which I started throughout the month of January and have made varying levels of progress with. First of all, Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin as well. So after reading The Ice Dragon, I was really inspired to get back into that world. So picked up Fire and Blood, which is basically a history of the Targaryens. I didn't get very far through this at all. I started listening to the audiobook and listened to about 2 of 28 hours and then have put it to one side and not picked it up again. But I definitely will read this book. I own the physical copy as well, which has the most beautiful artwork I've ever seen. So I think I'll do a mixture of audiobook and physical reading of this one. And definitely want to get back into that very soon because it was very enjoyable. I also started and only read about 20 pages of A Column of Fire by Ken Follett. This is the 3rd book in the Kingsbridge trilogy, which are historical fiction books set around the Kingsbridge Priory and all of the exploits of the people living in various eras of time in that community. So I love this series, but clearly was not the right time to be picking this book up because, as I said, I read about 20 pages right at the start of the month and then have not gone back to it since. So that's another one I do need to return to at some point. And the final book, which I'm partway through and have read on and off over this past week, is The Flame Bearer by Bernard Cornwell. This is the, I think, 10th book now in the Last Kingdom series, following our main protagonist Uhtred in the ancient England times. I think it's about 900 AD. And we follow the story of the Saxons and the Danes and lots of politics and battles, and I've talked about this series a lot on my channel. It's one of my favourite series. Historical fiction again. Very fast-paced books, very witty, engaging main character narration. They're great fun. So hopefully I will get this one finished soon. I think I will try and get this one read throughout next week before I start with the rest of my February books. And I think that's it for books I've had on the go. I mentioned The Hatmakers already, and those other 3 I'm varying lengths of the way through. I think that's all of them. There's probably something else. I was just in that much of a chaotic mess to find something I could read, that I've tried so many different things, which evidently has not worked. So I will not have a month where I mood read again, because it's not the way to go for me. I think probably, in terms of reading for February, I want to try and start the month with an old favourite, a reread of some sort, because that's usually the way I get myself out of reading slumps and get back into something that I definitely want to be reading. So I will either pick up something from a series that I love, or I will just return to another book that I know I have loved. So something like The Starless Sea, for example, is a standalone, it's a quick read, I know I love it, it's very immersive, it's something that I have raced through when I've read it in the past. So I'll probably start with something along those lines. And then by the second week of February, I will actually have a set TBR that I have to stick to, because it is Polathon, which is one of my favourite readathons and I really want to participate in successfully. So I will make sure to set myself an achievable TBR, but I will definitely be doing Polathon. So I have 1 week to get back on track with reading. Fingers crossed I achieve what I want to. So without further ado, I'm going to wrap up this vlog. It's been an absolute mess, but thank you for sticking with me through the chaos, and hopefully normal service will be resumed in February. So if you enjoyed this mess of a video, give me a like down below. Feel free to chat to me in the comments about any of the books I've mentioned. What are your strategies for getting over reading slumps? I would love to know, in case this happens to me again. And feel free to subscribe as well if you'd like to see more from me. I usually post a weekly vlog, plus occasional monthly TBRs and wrap-ups as well, and I do want to try and get into doing more sit-down videos if and when I can, so let me know if there's anything you'd like to see from me in particular. I will leave you there, and I will see you again hopefully next week in a new video, but goodbye for now.